Hello. Thank you for the invitation. I'm glad to be again with you on this program. I would like to take the opportunity of this session to conduct kind of a farewell ceremony, a farewell to the city as we know it. Why? Why to say goodbye, so long, farewell to the city? Because as much as cities are the shape of human settlements on Earth in recent years, and I emphasize recent because by far the way that humans have inhabited Earth has been different before the emergence of cities. So, as professionals of urban development, as researchers and specialists and analysts about the nature of cities, I would like to invite you to stop looking backward, to stop looking at the way cities exist in their present form due to a history that is relatively recent, but that is so encompassing, so overwhelming, that leads us to think that it has always been like this and that will continue to be like this. So, instead of looking at the past, I would like to invite you to think about the future of not of cities. This is what we are saying goodbye to, but about the way we humans, if we continue to inhabit the earth the way it should be. Why? Why to think in such drastic terms? Because the history of our planet is so drastic. Because because the existence of cities, it only has taken a very, very tiny fraction of the history of Earth. Because the existence of human beings is only a very, very recent phenomenon. By far, actually, not just human life, but life altogether. By far, the largest span, about 3/4 of the history of our planet, have been lifeless. Life did not exist for the first 10 billion years, 10,000 million years of the Earth's history. And the conditions on our planet were quite different. Impossible for life. It was too hot. There was no atmosphere, no oxygen, no water. So it was too hot and too catastrophic, with eruptions all over the place and just a completely uninhabitable Earth. So this happened for the vast span of Earth's history. But then life started only about for the last 4 billion years. This is significant. This is 4,000 million years. But by far, most of this time, the way that life has existed on our planet, and actually the way that made possible a more complex forms of life, have been microorganisms. Viruses say hello to COVID-19, bacteria, fungi. These minute forms of life have been the ones that have actually dominated Earth for the vast majority of its history. It's only fairly recent. It's only 2.5 million, not billion, only million years ago that our species, the human species, started populating this earth, evolving out of our hominin ancestors. But after that, it takes only a tiny fraction of human history on Earth. By far, most of human history on Earth was walking around the surface, was moving along rather than being settled in a given place. It's only very recent. It's only about 12,000 years ago that two events happened. It's a debate which went first, but about simultaneously. The emergence of agriculture and the emergence of cities. Human settlements, in the way we know them, are a very, very, very recent phenomenon. And this was possible thanks to the way that conditions for life on Earth took shape about that time. In terms of geological changes, there have been so many transformations. When oxygen developed, when the balance of the atmosphere, when the temperature reached its current level, and so forth, when glaciers receded and led us to what we could call the early paradise, the very best ideal conditions for human life on Earth. And this happened about then, is what in geology is called the Holocene. The very epoch that is now in debate, that we are ending to enter an unknown epoch that is called the Anthropocene. An epoch that is marked by an impact, human impact on Earth of such magnitude that is now confirmed that it can leave a mark that will span, whether humans are here or not, will span for geological times, for thousands, tens or hundreds of thousands or even millions of years, a mark that will be left behind us. So, these conditions of the Holocene are now in immediate threat of being disrupted. And how is that? Well, our planet has natural variations in temperature, in the depth, the amount of water in the oceans circulating, in concentrations on different atmospheric gases, and so forth. And these are natural variations. As well, there have been, life has been quite eventful because we have, our planet has experienced, this planet has experienced already 5 major extinctions. And we are already into the 6th mass extinction due to human action. So, given that this is the context in which cities emerged, given that this is the way in which urban human settlements began to exist, and given that these circumstances are changing due to human action, it's inevitable to pose us the question, what shall be the new terms for humans to inhabit this planet in a way that enables their survival? Because it is clear that it is not in the present way that cities exist. Because cities exist in a context, in a culture, in an economy that takes for granted something that cannot be taken for granted anymore. And this means the infinite disposal of natural resources and materials so as to continue to sustain the human-built environment. It is precisely about this time in history Some suspect this happened along the second half of last year, right as the COVID pandemic was exacerbating across the globe, that something happened for the first time. And according to calculations, there is some estimates as to the total weight of the biomass, all the living matter that exists on Earth, and the total weight of all the artificial mass, all the materials and products, think mostly buildings and roads. So the total weight of each is calculated, and it's estimated that sometime last year they crossed for the first time in history the mass of human created materials has for the first time surpassed the total weight of biomass, including human biomass. And not only that, it also is being documented that while biomass has been decreasing over the years, the artificial mass has been increasing. So, can you think that there is a point in which the since this is a zero-sum circumstance, that at some point the growth of artificial mass will mean the total abolition of the biomass. So how can we have a planet that we can in which we can live if there are no conditions for life anymore? So we are experiencing the exit, the goodbye, the farewell to the Holocene as we enter the Anthropocene. And this challenges us to totally not just rethink the city, because there is no amendment, there is no change, there is no adaptation that is conceivable to the way, because cities are a very, very complex arrangement of extremely fragile subsystems that depend on each other and are very easily disrupted. You can see this in any city where there is suddenly an electricity blackout, or there is a shortage of water, or there is an extreme heat event, or there is some flooding, or there is something, everything else gets disrupted. Our cities are like carved castles, extremely fragile, they were fixed not due to a master plan that made sense of everything, but something that has been arranged and superimposed throughout many years. One element, then another, and changing something because something else needs to be accommodated, and so forth. So these systems are extremely, extremely sensitive to variations. Think what happens when there is no water supply anymore, or when heat becomes so extreme as it is happening already in many places. Or think of all the many cities that are based along the coastal areas and that are just above sea level, and where a few centimeters of increase in sea level might mean the disappearance of these cities. So basically, my invitation here for you as professionals of urban development is to invite you to drastically reconsider not just the city as the solution, as the way of life, but to think of an alternative way of inhabiting the earth, one that could achieve a balance between the artificial, this is the humanly created, and the natural, that existed before and independently of humans. Unless we do so, and unless we resource to the very best of our knowledge, not just scientific knowledge, which of course is fundamental, but also the humanities, the arts, the philosophy that can help us rethink and reconsider the terms of inhabiting the earth, we might or might not have a future as a species. Thank you.